The Polaroid I-2, let's talk about this, because this came out basically a year ago, and Polaroid has released its first major firmware update. Does it fix some of the issues that this has? Well, we're gonna go out and we're gonna find out. But before I do that, I wanna shoot some photos with it as is and do a direct comparison. And then I'll show you how to do the update, and then we'll do the final comparison. Let's get into it.
You know the type of guy that was a jock in high school but ended up becoming a huge nerd? You know, someone that's not afraid to make a fool of themselves on the internet. And someone that likes to shoot Polaroid a little too much. Did I say huge nerd? You know, just an ordinary, everyday guy. Well, that's me. I'm just another Chris.
Polaroid I-2. I got a love-hate relationship with this. I've come around to it a little bit more in the recent days, but man, I struggled with this for quite some time. And that is mostly due to the light sensor on this. It was pretty much just exposing for the shadows. That way you were guaranteeing a exposed picture. Most of the time it was overexposed, but it's better than underexposed. At least that's what I think Polaroid thought. So every time I use this, I just need to know -1 on exposure compensation. I was going to get some great results. And in fact, I have gotten some pretty stellar out of this world photos with this camera, but it took quite a bit of effort, work, and money to get to that point. I don't mind putting it in practice, but man, when you shoot with instant photography, that practice, that just means wasted film shots, and that adds up. But if you're gonna be shooting this in manual mode, which that's the whole point of getting this camera and spending that $600, still can't get over that. It's plastic, and the battery doesn't even come out. I digress. But you're spending that money on all those manual features, but the light meter has been what's been kind of funky with this camera. It's reading the scene incorrectly. Polaroid has just released a brand new firmware update that supposedly fixes the light meter. But does it though? We're gonna find that out right now. Let's head on out, shoot some photos, and then we'll regroup back in here after that and see the results. All right, here is the plan after I focus the camera. It's really bright out. So here's the plan. I have 5 shots left in here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take 2 shots before I update, and then I'm gonna take 2 shots after I update. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shoot this in auto mode, because I think that'll give us the real telling if the sensor in here has been calibrated to the new update. And I'm gonna take a picture of the same stuff. I'm at a familiar site. You should recognize it. And that way I can do a proper side-by-side comparison of the same thing, pretty much from the same spot as I took it, and the same lighting conditions, and really gauge if the update works. So, without further ado, let's get shooting. I don't think I was in camera for that, in frame. I forgot to mention that I'm making sure the flash is turned off for these. The camera was reading f45 at 1/30th of a second. Doesn't seem like it should be able to hand hold that at 1/30th of a second. But that's what I was reading at in the normal before update mode. I don't know if you can see me, it's kind of dark. Hopefully I'm in focus. It read f64 at 1/40th of a second this time, which still seems like not fast enough to be able to hand hold. Hopefully these aren't coming out blurry. But shot the 2, let's do the update and then reshoot these and see what we get. So to do the update, it's actually really simple. All you gotta do is open up the Polaroid app and then go over to cameras, tap on I-2, and then it'll say searching for camera, and the update should pop up. There it is. So now what we do is hit update and start firmware. And this will probably take a couple minutes. We're looking for overall exposure. Are the highlights exposed correctly, or are they completely blown out, which is typically what this camera has been doing. So naturally I just do -1 to start immediately when I'm in auto mode. So I'll be curious to see if I have to do that with the new update. Now, also worth mentioning, the film that is in here is new. It's I wanted to say production date April, maybe March, which is a really good batch of film. Very saturated. I haven't had hardly any like artifactings or weird things happening with it, full spreads. It's a really good production. So we're really giving this update test the best possible results. So hopefully this will fix some of these issues. But yeah, so far I can still tell that the highlights are, you know, the natural, normal looking I-2 results, a little overexposed. Some people like that. I'm not necessarily a fan of that. I'd like to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments. I like to see more blue, more saturated stuff in my Polaroid pictures. Update successful. All right, let's shoot these other 2 photos. Hopefully it fixes some problems. Or hopefully it just does something, actually. That's really what I want to see. I want to see it at least do something. All right, let's do it. Ooh, I'll boost this ND filter so you can see me. It was f45 1/60th of a second. A little faster from 1/30th. I believe that was the same f-stop. Something did happen. There was a difference. So that was f64 at, hang on, it's really loud and bright. That was f64 1/50th of a second. Not much of a difference, but there's something is happening. So now let's just wait for these to fully develop and take a peek at them. So let's just head back in the studio. Well then, boy do we have some interesting results. So I shot 2 photos before the update, and I actually shot an extra one, but we'll get to that in just a second. So let's look at these side by side, and let's start with this one. I don't know, motel sign, but they're both motel signs. The one with the arrow. Now, if I were to look at these side by side and not know which one was before or after the update, I really can't tell a difference like at all. They look pretty much 100% identical. And I remember it firing really slow in the shutter because you can even see the motion blur of the bus in the first shot. And there is a car that drove by in the second one, but you can't really tell the motion blur in that one because it's too far away. But I really can't tell a difference. And these look pretty much the same. However, that's not the case with the other motel shot. But these side by side, there is a difference. The second shot is definitely better. Now, is it because of the update or is it because of the clouds? In the first shot, if you look at the clouds, there's a lot of them, which clouds will emit light. They're reflecting light from the sun. And then the second shot where I did after the update, there are less clouds in the sky, but it is definitely a more pleasing exposure. The highlights are definitely more preserved. So I don't know if this is a perfect example of a side-by-side test just because of those clouds, but I will say the second one is much, much better. Like really good. I actually like it a lot. But if you look really closely at the structure part of it, the base, I don't know what you would call it, the metal railing, the white metal railing, you can tell by I think the proper term would be halation of the way the light is bouncing off of the white paint is overexposed. It is blown out. And that is definitely in the first one, but it is less in the second one though. And of course the motel sign itself, it is more evenly exposed, but the clouds could be playing a factor here since there are less of them in the second picture. It's hard to tell. Now, I did say I shot one extra one before I left. I didn't record any of this because it was just kind of an extreme test. I'll say I did pretty good. This is a picture of the Jeep. I wanted to take a picture of this because it's white. And like I just said about the white railing, metal, whatever you want to call it, the structure, part of that motel sign, it would overexpose because those are the highlights. It's gonna be the brightest spot of the image. And I can say it did a pretty dang good job preserving the highlights in this picture. And I shot it in this way because of the intense shadows and contrast. I wanted to see what it would do. I normally wouldn't shoot this way, but again, I wanted to see what would happen. And you can actually see detail in the shadows in front of the Jeep, and the highlights are preserved. Now the shadows are very dark, but you can still see something in there. So that's promising. And that is really, really exciting. I am not sponsored by Polaroid at all. I paid for all this with my own money. The film too. So I can say whatever I want, which is a plus, but it still costs lots of money. So I've really been forcing myself to love this camera. It is something. I will say though, I didn't include this in the original review of this camera, but something I've noticed when I hand this off to somebody to use. So I've done that when I had someone take a picture of me. Flash is so close to the shutter button. What they do is this. They cover up the flash because they're trying to grip the camera. It's so close to the button. You have to be extra cautious of that, making sure your fingers are out of the way. But these results, they're promising, like I said, and I'm excited to try some more. But I obviously can't do a direct comparison anymore since it's updated. I don't think I can go backwards and de-upgrade it. So that's why I wanted to at least shoot a couple of photos before I did the update, and that way I was in the same location and being able to shoot the same photo twice. Oh, and if you want to get your hands on these exact photos, you can. Over on Patreon, I give these photos away, and there's even a special tier that guarantees you a photo of my original shots, either from Polaroid or Instax. I have a special tier that you can sign up for, but there's only a couple slots left. I have that capped off, and so if you want to get some, there's a link in the description. And there's even a 7-day trial, because there's a lot more with the Patreon Club, aka Spitfire Club. There's a lot more in there than just this, but that's just one of the perks. If you want to get some, consider checking it out. What are your thoughts? Have you shot with the i2? Have you done the update? What's your experience? If you didn't know about the update, well, hey, go update your camera and let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Now, get out there, make some art.